Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Our minister is Reverend Bob Janis. I'm Kathy Atwell, the worship assistant for this morning. We are delighted to have attendees, both in person here in the sanctuary, as well as via Zoom, which I'm hoping does okay. We had a little typical glitch, but I'm hoping you Zoomers, all you Zoomers out there, welcome. A big welcome to everyone. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation of the LGBTQ+ community. We're an affiliate of the Ulster Immigration Defense Network. We're an active voice in the effort to address climate change. And we acknowledge that our sanctuary shares the land that is the ancestral home of the Lenape. If you'd like to contact someone at UU Catskills, please visit our website, uucatskills.org, or find and like us on Facebook and Instagram. If you are a visitor and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box on Zoom, or talk with any of our members after the service. If you are a first-time visitor and would like to let us know, please raise your hand and welcome. Yay, okay, welcome. We encourage you to read our February newsletter that is distributed through our email list and on our website. Upcoming events for the month are in your newsletter, and there are several this coming week that are on the back of your order of service and are shared on Zoom before the service began, although I'm not sure that happened this morning. But we've got some of them listed here on the back. Thank you to everyone who is assisting with today's service. Our hybrid services are made possible by our tech team, Bruce Wilde, who is here in the sanctuary, provides for live streaming from the pulpit, and our Zoom host this week is Bill Lindsay. After the service, those attending via Zoom, please stay for our breakout room for a virtual coffee break. We also just quickly mention if you do need a quiet place during this morning's service, Reverend Bob's office is available. You can go there and sit and still be able to hear us. So with all of that, we have the prelude. Excerpts from Scenes from Childhood by Robert Schumann, performed by Bill Toole.
Good morning. It's good to see you all. Here you are. It's a fine day. It's 20 degrees warmer than this time yesterday when it was -6. And this afternoon it's supposed to be 20 degrees warmer still. And I, for one, feel cheated. We were supposed to have proper winter, but anyway, nothing lasts forever. So even winter may be on its way out. But the groundhog says it's 6 more weeks. Welcome to this time of reflection and worship and inspiration and community and celebration. We'll begin this time, as we do each week, by lighting our chalice. And I invite us to say the unison words on our orders of service. We light this flame in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light paths to courage, justice, and hope. And our unison affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our theme for February is love. I suspect you probably already know a little bit about the topic. We've all had some experience of love and connection and heartbreak and hope and all of these experiences of love. And today we're going to explore many different kinds of love and how we are connected with one another. And we're going to start with a song. I Brought My Spirit to the Sea. It's number 4 in your gray hymnals. Number 4. So we've got a time for all ages, a story now, and I'm just going to do a brief costume change. Will you forgive me? It takes a moment. Just make myself comfortable for this story. It's a beautiful day. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Some people know that song. Some of you might be a little before your time, but Mr. Rogers was on TV, and he was somebody who was really lovely, and he would say how special it was, how each of you could be special by being just who you are. And I think you're very special just the way you are, and make this day special just by being you. And I'm going to tell a story, and this isn't actually a story from Mr. Rogers, it's from Richard Rohr, but close enough. And it's a story about love, and I thought Mr. Rogers spoke a lot about love, and so why not tell it kind of like he would tell it? And it lets me change my shoes, because I like wearing other shoes. So this is a story about how to love a stone. And see, Alana, in fact, was in synagogue, in the Jewish temple, where the rabbi was talking about loving God. And she said, what does that mean? And afterwards, she looked puzzled. And the rabbi said, do you want to talk about this, Alana? And she said, yes, please. And she went to the rabbi's office and she said, Rabbi, I don't know what it means to love God. What does it mean to love God? Because I've never seen God. I don't know who God is. And my dad doesn't believe in God. And my mom's not sure about it. And so what does it mean to love God? And the rabbi said, well, Alana, that's a very, very good question. And it's true. It's hard to love God when you haven't seen God. You don't know who God is. And maybe we should start with something that we can do. He said, how about you love a stone? And Alana said, sure, okay. And so the rabbi gave Alana a stone. And, it wasn't even a particularly fascinating stone. It was, just a rock, and it had things in it. And the rabbi said, come back in a week, see if you love this stone. So Alana said, how do you love a stone? Well, she put it in her room, and she sort of looked at it, and she held it at night, and she saw what it felt like, and, just got a sense of it. And it was heavy, yeah. And it's so heavy, and she noticed the weight of it, and then at the end of it, do you want to have it? It's very heavy. And then she brought it back, and she wasn't sure. She said, what does it mean to love a stone? And Rabbi said, well, tell me about the stone. And Alana said, well, it's very heavy, and I was holding it, and it's kind of nice, and can I keep it? Because it's nice to put in my room. And the rabbi said, sure, of course you can keep it. Would you say you love that stone? And Alana said, I guess so. I mean, it's a really nice stone, and I've really, know what it looks like and appreciate it. And the rabbi said, that's wonderful. Do you think that you could love a flower? And Alana said, oh, yes, I could love a flower. In fact, there were flowers in the kitchen, and I loved them. But then after a couple of weeks, they went, they wilted. You know how sometimes flowers after a while wilted? And the rabbi said, oh, yes, that's part of love too, that we love the flowers. But do you still love the flowers even though they wilted? And Alana said, oh, yes, I do. And the rabbi said, that's wonderful. So you already know a lot about love. And the rabbi asked, is there anything else you love? And Alana told the rabbi, yes, in fact, I love my stuffed animals, and I love my music lessons, and I love my mom and my dad and my brother, and what else? What do you love? Anybody want to say? The Carolina Panthers, randomly. But they said, and the rabbi said, well, you are very, very good at loving. So all you need to do is practice loving. And then maybe someday you might learn to love God. And Alana said, well, what about my dad who doesn't even believe in God? And the rabbi said, oh, that's okay. It's more about how we love than what we believe. And if we get better and better at loving, that will be an amazing main thing. So Alana took that rock with her, and she had learned how to love a stone. And she knew that she had learned a lot over, not just then, but about how to love one another. So with that, I want to thank you for sharing this story with me. You make today special just by being you. You're a very wonderful person. And why don't we sing together? It's a wonderful day. Beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Now, we'll sing our children happy.
While he puts his shoes back on, the reading is an excerpt from Thich Nhat Hanh from No Fear, No Death, Confronting Wisdom for Life. Impermanence means that everything changes and nothing remains the same in any consecutive moment. And although things change every moment, they still cannot be accurately described as being the same or as different from what they were a moment ago. When we bathe in a river today that we bathed in yesterday, is it the same river? Heraclides says that we couldn't step into the same river twice, and he was right. The water in the river today is completely different from the water that we bathed in yesterday. Yet, it is the same river, And when Confucius was standing on the bank of a river watching it flow by, he said, "Oh, it flows like that night and day, never ending." The insight of impermanence helps us to go beyond all concepts. It helps us to go beyond same and different, coming and going. It helps us to see that the river is not the same river, but it also is not different either. It shows us that the flame that we lit on our bedside candle before we went to bed is not the same flame as the next morning. The flame on the candle is not two flames, but it's not one flame either. We're often sad and suffer a lot when things change, but change and impermanence have a positive side. Thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Life itself is possible. If a grain of corn is not impermanent, it will never be transformed into a stalk of corn. And if the stalk were not impermanent, it could never provide us with the ear of corn that we eat. And if your daughter is not impermanent, she cannot grow up to be a woman, and then your grandchildren will never manifest. So instead of complaining about impermanence, we should say, warm welcome and long live impermanence.
Thank you, Catherine. So as you heard, this service is about love and impermanence, and the sermon title is Dissolving into Love. It's not the sermon yet, but just to let you know, it is a story sermon, so it is fiction, but I think it's true in speaking. So now we have a time of reflection as we share joys and sorrows and then enter into a time of prayer and meditation. Are there, if you or anyone that of your prayer is written by Reverend Melissa Jeter, Love is My Guide, which is loosely based on the 23rd Psalm, and I just love this reading, so I've asked Kathy to read it.
Love is my guide, I shall not falter. Love calls me to rest when I feel disconnected. Beloveds lead me to deep waters, where I sit to think in solitude. My mind and my heart reshape and adapt. Love allows my ego to slowly sink. Though I move through the valley of chaos and inequity, I shall keep my heart open, for there is elegance in patterns seen over time. Love is my breath of breath, and just as long as I have breath, I will keep steadfast on a moral path.
I invite us into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. Love is my guide, I shall not falter. Love calls me to rest when I feel disconnected. I invite you to notice the friend of your own body as you breathe in and breathe out to connect again with your vehicle for loving this world. Beloveds, lead me to deep waters where I sit to think in solitude. Notice the deep waters within you. The ocean roiling with all the emotions. The ocean placid and waiting. My mind and heart reshape and adapt. Love allows my ego to slowly sink. Sink into the comforting waters of the ocean of love in which your soul can rest. Breathe in, breathe out, be. Though I move through the valley of chaos and inequity, I shall keep my heart open. Notice the call to love within you, something within you reaching out to the world. As you breathe, imagine compassion and peace flowing through you into the world. For there is elegance in patterns seen over time. Love is my breath of breath. Return to your breath. As you breathe, recognize, feel that you are part of something. Recognize, feel that love is a part of something. And just as long as I have breath, I will keep steadfast on a moral path. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel in you, forming slowly but firmly, that determination to live a certain way, to be true to a certain something. Hew to the good, flowing through this world, flowing through you. Be aware of the patterns of love. Have a little more time of silence for awareness and common breath to simply allow peace to flow amongst us and through us. I invite you to remain seated as we sing the meditative hymn. We sometimes sing Spirit of Life. We'll sing it through twice. If you need the words, it's number 123 in our hymn notes.
Good morning. We are doing the offertory now, and any donations you can feel you give is wonderful. Our half plate organization for February is the Center for Creative Education at Kingston. The CCE is a nonprofit community center for arts, technology, wellness, and cultural education. They provide innovative, high-quality programs with a special emphasis on serving low-income, minorities, and at-risk children and youth. The center provides a wide array of classes in dance, music, fitness, theater, spoken word, computer art, technology, and the visual arts. If you are in the sanctuary, we have on the back of the OOS this QR code, which would link you directly to our website for donations. If you're on Zoom, there may be one for you to. Otherwise, you can go to our website. All right, so our offertory is some additional scenes from childhood by Robert Schumann, performed by Bill Toole.
Thank you for all the offerings you bring to this place, making this a beloved community. Nirvana, dissolving into love. On February 9th, 2023, at 1:38 in the afternoon, Buddy Ramsden dissolved totally into love. This was as much a surprise to Buddy as it would have been to anyone else. Buddy respected love. He appreciated it. He even, on occasion, used phrases like, all you need is love, or love is what it's all about, really. But to dissolve into love, to become the incarnation of pure love, well, he didn't expect that at all. It happened like this. Buddy was walking down a perfectly ordinary street, Old Wagon Road in Woodstock. It was a street he walked down pretty much every day. He walked very slowly, muscles aching with every step. They would ache more as he sat down later, he knew. Buddy was 80 years old, never married, a couple of close shaves, but always a bachelor. He had lived a fine life, traveled a bit, found work that kept him out of trouble. He had had many friends, though most of them were gone now. It seemed like all the time he was finding that one more friend was waiting for him at the spiritual saloon in the sky. He didn't much like getting old, to be honest, but what was the alternative? He had a routine he would follow when his joints weren't bothering him too bad. He would go outside, open the mailbox, peek in it to see the mail, but not take it out yet. Walk along Old Wagon Road, turn onto Bluestone, take a peek at the foliage if there was any and the fir trees, say hi to the cardinal who usually hung out there, get as far as Turkey Lane if he felt like it, and then turn around and head home. And then get the mail, and then go home again. But he wasn't sure why he opened the mailbox twice. It was just one of those little things, he supposed he kind of liked the anticipation, the knowledge that the mail was waiting for him when he got home. The mail was mostly junk, mind you, but who cares? You need something to look forward to sometimes. It's the little things in life. To walk along the street when there's mail waiting. It may not be a cruise in Honolulu, but it would do. When Buddy turned onto Bluestone Road that afternoon, he had not yet dissolved into pure love. But then he took 2, 3, 4 steps and whoosh, in a flash, suddenly it happened. Buddy was no more. Oh, there was a body there, a living body, a very familiar body, in fact, and a mind attached to that body with consciousness and everything. The form that was Buddy Ramsden kept ambling along Bluestone. But Buddy, all that was left of Buddy was love. Maybe the sunlight had something to do with it. It was one of those glorious winter days where the sun is everything, streaming in through the clear blue sky, covering everything like maple syrup, wrapping the trees in tips of gold, whispering chilly love songs to the ripples in the ponds and streams, and wouldn't dream of touching your eyes without first kissing them gently. The sky was as blue as heaven. Maybe somehow the sunlight took Buddy in its arms and turned him into love, pure love. Buddy Ramsden knew right away what had happened, though he couldn't really put it into words, but his soul hummed with the music of the cosmos. His body was still a body, and his mind still a mind, but they weren't really his anymore. His eyes still worked, his hearing worked, well, worked as badly as it always did, but he wasn't living in his head anymore. The only thing his mind could really muster in terms of a thought was, what a day! What a day! What a day, that tree with a little bit of snow attached to it, that slight breeze, chilly and fresh. What a day. He loved everything, absolutely. There was nothing left of Buddy Ramsden, only the love. Now you might be wondering, what is it like to see the world purely through the eyes of love, completely through the eyes of love? Well, it's very, very hard to cross the street, for starters. Good thing he wasn't on Tinker. Buddy Ramsden was aware that he had feet inside his shoes, and he was aware that he needed to use his feet to cross the street. But when he tried to use them, he thought to himself, wow, feet! These are feet! They were wonderful, these lumps of flesh, with sense impressions running up from them, wonderful like the trees and the birds and the sun. The old Buddy Ramsden cursed his feet several times a day. They were always causing him pain and suffering. But pure love said, oh, pain, I know this. Sensations, liveliness. He was perfectly unable to turn pain into suffering. He just loved his feet. And the road, the concrete under him, how perfect. That pothole, how beautiful and perfect. The cars. Now he did know that cars were dangerous to a pedestrian, and he had no desire to end his life. He just identified so little with it. Buddy Ramsden was just one form among many in the world. Buddy Ramsden was just a name slapped on a couple 100 pounds of cells and neurons. And so it's getting himself across the street involved focusing on one particular aspect of the beautiful everything that was Buddy's body. He was able to do it, but it wasn't easy. In terms of convenience and practicality, let me tell you, the ego has its benefits. But oh, the joy to be free of it and completely wrapped in love. Buddy felt so light he wondered if he might drift away on the summer breeze. To think all that he had carried all this time. He had carried this form. He had been Buddy Ramsden for so long. His life had belonged wholly to him. He had never really thought of sharing it with the universe. His responsibilities, his worries, his personality, his attachments, he had carried all of this, had thought it was essential to have these things. Now that he was released into the pure universe, he couldn't believe that he had carried so much, felt so heavy. At the moment he dissolved into love, maybe the only living witness other than Buddy was the dark-eyed Junko hopping along from lawn to lawn. We don't know much about Junko consciousness, so it's hard to know if the bird was able to notice that Buddy Ramsden had dissolved into pure love. Birds probably don't think in words, so understanding nirvana may be a little easier for them. Maybe that warbler took one glance at Buddy Ramsden and thought to himself, trill, 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 yeah, trill, 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 trill. And that was that. Whatever her perception, the dark-eyed Junko flew off a moment later into beauty, from beauty to beauty. Along his route, Buddy passed a little girl, a toddler, who he saw in passing from time to time. They always waved at each other, smiled, and said hi. Before, seeing this little girl was always pleasant. Now it was pure happiness. This girl was his granddaughter. Oh, not biologically, but who cares? Who cares? From time to time, Buddy had wondered over the course of his life it had been a mistake to never have had children. Now he saw that he had millions and millions of children. This child was his mother as well. This child in this very moment caused Buddy Ramsden to be in this very moment. Just looking at her, smiling at her, saying hi. In this moment, he was created by this little girl in the moment of the little girl and the moment they shared. She created him as pure love. This girl was him too. He would walk on past her yard as Buddy Ramsden, and he would stay there as her, and there was no difference between the two. When Buddy reached his house, he passed right by his mailbox. Then he remembered his ritual. And he went back. There was nothing he was looking for in the mailbox. His only hope was to have the experience of checking the mailbox as pure love, sorting through the envelopes with his fingers, feeling the paper as a part of his existence. He found he couldn't look at the names on the return addresses without an outburst of loving kindness. His doctor's office, what wonderful people lived there every weekday. He thought of each of their faces, their kindnesses, their good intentions, and his eyes welled with tears. Palace Credit Card Company. He'd never heard of it, but all the people there must be a part of it. All the kindnesses, the faces, the good intentions, they overwhelmed Buddy with joy. May they each know wisdom. May they be entirely free from suffering. May they each find a way to connect with the entire universe. The entire universe was so beautiful, Buddy didn't want anyone to miss out on even an iota of it. He went home and played computer internet hearts. And deep in his heart, he was rooting for everyone he played against to know the great beauty of our indescribable universe. He rooted for them to win at internet hearts too, though that didn't seem to matter much. Before, everything was dreadfully, dreadfully important because it might be lost. Things like the leftovers rotting in the fridge existed in his mind alongside his health. All might be lost. All were subject to fail at any moment. All might lose their essence. But now that Buddy was in love, everything was here and now. And everything was everywhere forever. Normally in the afternoons, he might flick through a newspaper, find out what was going on in the world. Now it was all he could do to sit on his couch, the smile crossing his face a mile wide. He didn't need a newspaper. Here everything was, right now. The love in his heart was the international news, and it was everywhere. You probably didn't hear of Buddy Ramsden. Pure love incarnate he might have been after that day in 2023, but that didn't make him famous or even noteworthy. He didn't even tell anybody about it. What good would that do? Maybe he should have levitated or something. That would have gained him some notoriety. But the idea didn't occur to him. What was the point of levitation when he loved the ground so much? Why impress people when everything was already beautiful? I wouldn't say he was entirely not famous. He was known for tipping very well at Selena's Diner. And those around him did notice something was a little different about Buddy. For one thing, he would just look at you and smile. Not saying anything, huge smile, staring right at you. People attributed this to his aging. Maybe he was losing his mental faculties a bit, which he was, and he'd freely admit it. But that wasn't the reason. He'd stand still sometimes, out on a field, stare out on the everything with a smile on his lips. It was because he realized that nothing was out there but love. Love taking the form of a pine tree on a distant hill, love taking a million forms, singing in birdsong on the breeze. When Buddy looked at you and smiled, you saw the face of an old man first and felt the love second, and then for a moment you forgot where you were. The smile had a way of reminding you weren't in room 138 of the old folks' home. Not really. You were in a transitory and permanent state of bliss. Over the next few years, the last of his life, Buddy slowly, gently unraveled into love. He forgot so much about his former self. He couldn't remember where he went to college, his address. He missed appointments in order to sit in a total state of love for the universe, which really, all things considered, wasn't that bad. When death came, it came as death so often does. A decline, some tests, a hospital bed, a gathering of loved ones, more tests, condolence cards, muttered words, holding hands, a breath, no breath, holding hands. Arrangements were made. People remembered. But nothing really happened to Buddy's love. It wouldn't be right to say it left him because it didn't belong to him in the first place. His love bounced off the hospital walls. It danced from heart to heart. It didn't fade at all with the passing of the withered, frail body that was the mortal remains of Buddy Ramsden. His body became the daffodils that Claire Farnsworth saw on the day of her parents' divorce. His smile became the first breath of wind of the summer. His thoughts became wisdom. It was all very natural. The mail of Buddy Ramsden piled up. They collected it at the post office. Eventually, the paperwork was finished and all the mail was returned to sender. But the love knew exactly where it was going. Maybe a little bit found its way to you. You may not have known Buddy Ramsden, but then again, Buddy Ramsden wasn't Buddy Ramsden. He was love, pure love. And you know, in a funny kind of way, maybe you are too. May it be so. Amen. Let's sing together hymn number 311. Let it be a dance. We do 311. next week, just to get coming attractions, I want to continue with love stories, but I want to hear your love stories. And romantic love is fine, but I'm looking for all the ways we fall in love with the universe. So if you have a love story that changed you, because I think liking the world is great, but love is something that changes us somehow. And you can put it in a paragraph, or you want to give me a call or send me an email this week, preferably by Tuesday, because I'd love to incorporate it in the service next week if you're willing. So would love to hear your love stories. Our closing words, well, I think it was Ram Dass who said, "Be here now." This moment is a particularly good time to fall in love. No matter what you're holding on to, looking to let go of, no matter what has changed, no matter what's roiling and tumbling in your heart, today's a good moment to fall in love with the universe. The universe is ready to be fallen in love with, and all you have to do is be here now. Be open to this universe, be open to one another, love this world with all your heart and spirit and strength and mind, and just be here now. It's a lovely day to be alive. Let's go out and enjoy it together. We close our service by extinguishing the flame. The words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. If you're here, stay for coffee and tea. Thank you. If you're on Zoom, join us in the Zoom conference rooms. If you're interested in social justice, come and let's figure out what we can do and how we can share our love with this world and bring justice to this world.
And you can put your wish for that.
There in that corner.
Back in the corner of it.
Thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful day. Peace be with you. God bless you.
You did very